you know about this moment is that the BAFTAs were not streamed live. So they saw this happen in real time. Then when they edited together their broadcast, they decided to leave this in, not remove that moment.
Else in attendance at the show called a slur. I understand the person had Tourette's. I know vocal tics are involuntary, but I will say, wow, this is quite on the nose, isn't it?
Delroy and I are delighted to be presenting the first BAFTA of the night for a vital part of movie making.
We're here to celebrate.
Some of you are getting on my last God-given nerves. The fact that I have to come up here to break down for you the ABC's 1, 2, 3 do-re-mis of racism, because some of you have the bombastic audacity to want to litigate the racial intent of a white man.
Michael B. Jordan isn't staying silent after a shocking moment at the BAFTAs. He and Delroy Lindo were hit with the N-word shouted by actor John Davison right there during a ceremony. Now, Davison's the guy behind the BAFTA-nominated film I Swear, and he reportedly lives with Tourette's syndrome, which can cause sudden outbursts and vocal tics, sometimes including curse words. But here's where things get wild. The entire ceremony was pre-recorded by the BBC, meaning they knew this went down before airing it. Yet they still decided to broadcast that exact moment, humiliating Michael and Delroy on national TV. Meanwhile, they quietly edited out a powerful part of filmmaker Akinola Davies Jr.'s acceptance speech, where he was talking about free and oppressed people, completely cutting his message from what the public saw. So the BBC silenced the message about freedom, but left in a slur aimed at 2 black actors? That's unbelievable. And to make matters worse, Delroy Lindo said no one from BAFTA even approached him afterward. No explanation, no apology, nothing. Just left him hanging after one of the most uncomfortable moments of the night. What kind of treatment is that? Delroy Lindo opened up to Vanity Fair about how he and Michael B. Jordan handled that shocking moment. He said, "We did what we had to do" when the slur was shouted at them while they were presenting the award for Best Visual Effects. But Delroy added that he wished someone from BAFTA had actually come up to speak with them afterward, to explain, apologize, something.
And absolve him of racism because of his disability? Now, I'm going to make time for you today. Let me say this in plain English because I'm not speaking Latin or Swahili. John Davidson is a racist white man with Tourette's syndrome. And let me break this down for you. Tourette's syndrome is a disability. Disability is not racism, and it does not make you racist. The Tourette's syndrome simply brings out what is already in the heart, mind, and soul of the person speaking. Because as a man thinketh, so is he.
Michael B. Jordan also spoke out, saying that he and Delroy were literally at work when that word was thrown at him. Imagine being on stage doing your job and hearing that. The fact that nobody from BAFTA even checked in after such a humiliating incident is just unbelievable. Social media instantly lit up with reactions. Tons of people agreed that what happened was completely unacceptable, and some even reminded everyone that this wasn't the first time actor John Davison, who has Tourette's syndrome, had an outburst like this involving a black person. One post on X read, "What Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo experienced was mistreatment within the workplace, period." Several black women also came forward, saying they had experienced similar situations with Davison, including Hannah Betchler. People online didn't hold back, saying loud and clear that Tourette's doesn't make you racist, and that racism doesn't need intent to be racism. The message was clear. The excuses weren't cutting it anymore. People are calling out the BBC big time, saying the decision to air that moment was straight up racist in how it was handled. And honestly, that user online had a point. Shouting that specific word isn't something Tourette's usually causes unless there's already some level of awareness or intent behind it. Most Tourette's outbursts are random or non-specific, things like quick noises, repeated words, or unrelated curses that aren't aimed at anyone directly. But in this case, the slur wasn't just random, it was targeted, shouted right at 2 black actors during a live moment. That's why so many people are furious, calling it more than just an uncontrollable tic.
Delroy and I are delighted to be presenting the first BAFTA of the night for a vital part of movie making.
We're here to
Now people are questioning everything from the BAFTA broadcast choices to John Davison's real intentions that night. The outrage is spreading fast, and it's clear this isn't something the public's gonna let slide easily. It's not just fans online calling out BAFTA anymore. Actors in the industry are stepping up and speaking out loud. Scottish actor Thierry Mabanga, who was born in the Democratic Republic of Congo, didn't hold back. He said BAFTA had a duty to warn Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo ahead of time about John Davidson's condition so they could be ready for something like that. He called it a major failure in responsibility, and people agreed fast. Then Jamie Foxx jumped into the conversation and went straight for the truth. He called out John Davidson directly, saying he clearly meant what he said. Jamie even left multiple comments under the video showing the moment Davidson shouted the slur at Jordan and Lindo. One of them read, "Out of all the words you could have said, Tourette's makes you say that? Nah, he meant that ish. Unacceptable." Jamie's reaction blew up online with fans backing him hard. And the internet didn't stop there. People started pointing out a double standard that's impossible to ignore. They said if John Davidson had shouted a slur at another group, there's no way the BAFTAs would have aired it, and they'd probably be apologizing nonstop right now. One post on X summed it up perfectly. If your condition made you blurt out anti-Semitic slurs at a nationally televised awards event, Keir Starmer would be outside Downing Street issuing a public apology tomorrow morning. The hypocrisy people are seeing is shaking up the entire awards world.
African-American rappers saying N-word this and N-word that, but a Caucasian can't.
So say it.
Say what?
Say the word you want to say.
I'm not saying that I want to say it, I'm just saying that I can't.
See?
But when it's aimed at black people, suddenly everyone wants to add nuance. Suddenly it's all, let's show pity, or we have to be understanding. That double standard is what's got people heated. One fan even pointed out how Kanye West never got this kind of sympathy when he acted out. Nobody said, let's give him grace because of mental health. Instead, he was instantly deplatformed, blacklisted, and lost nearly half his fortune, along with most of his brand deals. No one hesitated to cut him off. The Kanye comparison hit hard because it perfectly exposes the imbalance. Kanye is a black man with a serious, documented mental health condition, and when he made his controversial statements, the entire world decided that his illness didn't excuse spreading hate. World leaders spoke out against him. He was dropped from business partnerships, and he lost millions overnight. No one said maybe he couldn't control it. They just shut him out completely. But flip the script. When the person at fault is a white man with a neurological condition, suddenly the conversation changes completely. The nuance becomes the whole story, and people start twisting it into sympathy instead of accountability. Now, to be fair, no one's saying Tourette's syndrome isn't real. It absolutely is, and we can't say for sure whether John Davidson intentionally shouted that word at two black actors or not. His condition might explain how it happened, but that doesn't erase how it looked and the hurt it caused on that stage. That doesn't take away how painful that moment was. Both things can be true at once. The fair move from BAFTA would have been to acknowledge the harm, even if John Davidson didn't mean it that way, because intent doesn't erase impact. Writing long essays online about how Tourette's works just to silence the conversation helps absolutely no one. People wanted empathy and accountability, not excuses. But here's the thing, not everyone's seeing it the same way. Some folks actually said they feel bad for John Davidson, since his film was literally about how people misunderstand Tourette's and overreact to his outbursts.
Those under occupation, dictatorship, persecution, and those experiencing genocide, you matter, your stories matter more than ever. Your dreams are an act of resistance. To those watching at home, archive your loved ones, archive your stories yesterday, today, and forever. For Nigeria, for London, the Congo, Sudan, free and thank you.
One user on X pointed out something wild. Craziest thing about this BAFTA situation is that the man was there because they were honoring a movie about him, one that shows how Tourette's gets misread and vilified, only for this exact thing to happen and for everyone to respond just like the people in the film. That irony hit people hard. And in a surprising twist, a young black woman who actually lives with Tourette's came forward to defend Davidson too. She said it's absolutely possible for someone with Tourette's to have slurs as involuntary tics without being racist. Her perspective opened up a deeper layer to the discussion, showing how complex the situation really is, even while the pain from what happened still cuts deep. Here's the real issue. Most people who are upset about all this aren't even blaming John Davidson. Honestly, most don't believe he's racist at all. The outrage isn't centered on him, it's squarely on the BAFTAs. Since the ceremony was pre-recorded, the producers knew exactly what was going to air, yet they still decided to broadcast the moment where two black actors were hit with a racial slur. And then, after all that, they didn't even bother to check in with Michael B. Jordan or Delroy Lindo afterward. That kind of silence says everything. But what's even more disturbing is what they choose to censor. Filmmaker Akinola Davies Jr. gave a moving, powerful speech about freedom, liberation, and standing up for oppressed people, and BAFTA decided to cut it completely. That part never made it to the broadcast. It's hard not to notice the pattern. They saw a message about empowerment as too risky, too likely to upset certain people, even though he didn't say anything wrong or offensive at all. Meanwhile, the outburst filled with the racial slur stayed in the final cut without hesitation. That's not just a questionable decision, it's a statement on its own. The contrast is glaring. It shows exactly whose voices get muted and whose pain gets spotlighted for shock value. BAFTA's editing choices didn't just shape the show, they sent a loud message about whose truth gets protected and whose suffering is treated like entertainment. And now the pressure's on. The BAFTAs can't ignore this any longer. People are demanding answers, and social media is lighting up with calls for accountability. Viewers, actors, and activists are all saying the same thing. This isn't just a mistake, it's a reflection of a deeper problem inside the industry. The silence from BAFTA and the BBC since the broadcast aired is only making it worse. The longer they stay quiet, the more guilty they look.
This is part 2 to my last post about the entire BAFTA situation. I am seeing a ton of people saying, oh my god, during Black History Month, Tourette syndrome is not based on a month. Offensive tics are going to happen no matter what a person does. I'm Black. Oh my goodness. And I also have the N-word as a tic. I have other slurs as tics. Does this mean that I use them regularly? Does this mean that I mean them? Does this mean that I can control what I say? No, it does not. That's not how coprolalia works. That is not how Tourette syndrome works.
Insiders are even whispering the producers knew about the controversy before the show went live, but decided to keep it in for authenticity. Authenticity! Viewers are furious at that word, because what's authentic about broadcasting trauma for views? It's like they cared more about shock value and headlines than respecting the people who were actually hurt. Now fans are calling for the BAFTAs to issue a public apology directly to Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo. Not a press statement, but a real face-to-face acknowledgement. Some are also pushing for policy changes, saying that future ceremonies should have stricter editing oversight and immediate support for anyone affected by incidents like this. Meanwhile, John Davidson has reportedly stepped away from public appearances for now, while his representatives say he's devastated by what happened. But the damage is done, and the debate over intent versus impact is only getting louder. The world is watching to see if BAFTA will take responsibility or try to sweep it under the rug again, because this time, people aren't letting it go quietly. In the days that followed, the backlash only grew louder, and now the story has officially gone global. Major media outlets across the US, the UK, and even Africa are covering the controversy, dissecting every second of that BAFTA broadcast. Commentators have said this incident could mark a turning point for how award shows handle accountability and representation, because this time, the public isn't buying polite statements or excuses. What's wild is how divided the reactions have become. Some people are standing by BAFTA, claiming it was an unfortunate situation they couldn't control, while others are calling it one of the biggest public relations disasters the organization's ever faced. Even some insiders from within the BBC have reportedly admitted that leaving the clip in was a serious editorial error. The fact that those words are coming from people inside the network says a lot. Meanwhile, Michael B. Jordan has continued to handle everything with quiet strength. No shouting, no drama, just calm dignity. Delroy Lindo, too, has kept his focus on the bigger picture, emphasizing that the conversation should now be about real change and respect within the industry. Their professionalism in the face of such blatant disrespect has only made people rally behind them even more. And the question everyone's asking now is clear. Will BAFTA and the BBC finally own up, or will they keep hiding behind carefully written statements? Because one thing's for sure, the public isn't backing down, and this scandal has officially become bigger than the awards themselves. Now the BAFTAs are facing the fallout, And it's not just public opinion anymore, it's professional reputation on the line. Sponsors are reportedly getting uneasy, and some industry insiders are quietly questioning if they want to stay connected to an event that lets something like this slide. The backlash has turned from an online storm into real-world consequences, and people are watching every move BAFTA makes from here on out.
Quite literally the Sweet Anita situation all over again. Where she ended up saying the N-word on stream, she got canceled for it, got called racist, etc. We need to do better. I've seen so many people say that we can control our tics. That's not, if you can control a tic, it's not a tic. Can you explain what a tic is in detail? Shut up, bitch. A tic is when your neurons misfire. You think that you can seriously fucking control a neuron misfiring.
Several major advocacy groups have stepped in too, demanding that the organization issue a formal apology and create new diversity and ethics guidelines for future broadcasts. They're saying this isn't just about one mistake, it's about a pattern of ignoring sensitivity and accountability when it comes to how Black artists are treated in major spaces. The call for reform is getting louder every single day. Even other award shows are reportedly taking notes, trying to avoid becoming the next headline. Rumors say the Oscars production team has quietly updated its crisis protocol after seeing how this situation spiraled out of control. The message is loud and clear. People are done with performative inclusion and empty promises. As for the audience, they're not forgetting this anytime soon. Every clip, every tweet, every missed apology keeps resurfacing, reminding everyone what went wrong that night. Whether BAFTA chooses to rebuild trust or lose it completely is now entirely up to them. But one thing's undeniable, this scandal changed the game forever. The spotlight isn't just on the stars anymore, it's shining straight on the institutions behind the scenes. Weeks later, the controversy still refuses to fade. If anything, it's evolved into a full-blown movement. Hashtags calling out the BAFTAs are still trending, and fans keep sharing clips and interviews to remind everyone what really happened that night. What started as outrage over a single broadcast has become a broader demand for accountability in entertainment. And this time, it's not just talk. A growing number of actors and filmmakers are now speaking up about their own experiences with bias and selective editing at award shows. Some are revealing that similar moments have been quietly swept under the rug for years, and that this incident just exposed what's been happening behind closed doors. People are calling it the BAFTA reckoning, and it's got everyone from producers to PR teams scrambling to figure out how to respond. Meanwhile, BAFTA officials have reportedly begun internal discussions about revising their code of conduct and creating an official sensitivity board for future events. But critics say it's too little, too late. Many believe this only happened because the public forced their hand. Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo haven't said much since their initial statements, but their silence speaks volumes. They've made it clear they're letting their actions, grace, and integrity do the talking. Still, fans are standing by them, demanding justice and respect. The question hanging over it all now is, will BAFTA make real, lasting change, or will this just become another PR moment that fades once the headlines cool off? Because right now, everyone's watching and no one's forgetting.
I've never seen a human possibly do that. We have got to stop thinking with our feelings and start thinking with logic. It is okay to be offended, but what it is not okay to do is be ableist and try to make it seem like people with Tourette's, specifically those with coprolalia, say their tics on purpose.
People are saying this moment exposed how much the system still favors comfort over courage. Instead of confronting the harm head-on, the BAFTAs tried to smooth it over, and that choice might have changed the way audiences see them for good. Critics, fans, and fellow actors are all calling this a cultural wake-up call, saying the industry can't keep hiding behind editing rooms and PR statements anymore. Some insiders are even suggesting that this could push BAFTA to completely revamp how it handles inclusion, editing oversight, and on-air incidents moving forward. It's not just about avoiding backlash, it's about proving they can lead with empathy and integrity, not fear and damage control. Meanwhile, supporters of Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo are keeping their names alive in the conversation, reminding everyone that they didn't just endure an onstage insult, they were professionals caught in the middle of a system that failed them. This moment isn't just going down as a scandal, it's becoming a turning point in entertainment history, a reminder that silence and nuance can't replace accountability anymore. As conversations continue to unfold, one thing's certain. This BAFTA moment didn't just fade into last week's headlines. It's reshaping how people talk about race, responsibility, and power in entertainment. The ripple effects keep spreading, and insiders say it's made producers everywhere rethink what representation really means when the cameras are rolling. Behind the scenes, there's growing talk that the next BAFTA ceremony might look very different. Some say they're planning stricter broadcast oversight, while others whisper that big-name hosts and presenters are quietly reconsidering whether they even want to be involved next year. The fear of another PR disaster has the industry walking on eggshells, but maybe that's what it takes to finally make people listen. Social media still hasn't cooled off either. Fans are demanding transparency and asking what's BAFTA actually doing to make this right. They want more than a press release. They want proof that lessons have been learned and that real systems are being put in place to prevent something like this from ever happening again. Meanwhile, conversations around John Davidson's condition continue to stir debate online. Some people sympathize with him deeply, while others say the focus should stay on accountability, not excuses. That balance between compassion and responsibility has become the center of the whole discussion. At this point, one thing's clear. This wasn't just a viral moment or a one-time controversy. It's now a cultural checkpoint that forced an entire industry to look at itself and ask the tough questions it's avoided for years. Whether BAFTA grows from it or hides behind silence will define how people remember this chapter, because this story is not over yet. As weeks turn into months, the BAFTA scandal still hangs heavy over the industry. It's no longer just a controversy, it's a cautionary tale. Every new interview, every podcast, every red carpet conversation seems to circle back to that one night and how a single decision exposed cracks in an institution that once prided itself on prestige and progress. People are realizing this wasn't just about an edit or a mistake. It was about who gets protected and who gets dismissed when things get uncomfortable.
Now, insiders say BAFTA is quietly working behind the scenes to rebuild trust. There are reports of new diversity consultants being brought in, and even early talks about forming an advisory board led by actors and filmmakers of color. Still, critics are skeptical, saying these changes feel reactive, not revolutionary. They want action, not optics. And while the headlines might have slowed down, the conversation hasn't. Michael B. Jordan's calm, powerful response is still being praised, with fans calling him a class act for handling such a humiliating situation with grace. Delroy Lindo, too, has been applauded for standing firm and speaking truth without letting anger take over. Their dignity has turned them into symbols of strength in the face of blatant disregard. Meanwhile, many people are wondering what this means for future award shows worldwide. Will organizers finally learn from BAFTA's mistakes, or will history just keep repeating itself under different lights and glitzy stages? Because right now, audiences are wide awake, and they're not afraid to hold these institutions accountable anymore. The old excuses don't work, and the world's watching who will actually step up and change the game for real this time.
I will think piece on this. If you are offended, I do deeply apologize, but I'm just being logical here. I see a lot of people giving their think pieces, and they are specifically talking about racism when tics don't correlate with racism. But that's not what causes offensive or obscene tics. What causes those kinds of tics are coprolalia is completely involuntary and does not involve your vocabulary.
Months later, the echoes of the BAFTA controversy still refuse to die down. If anything, they've turned into a full-blown shift in how people view major award shows. What once seemed like an isolated scandal has now become a symbol of everything that's wrong with how power and privilege play out behind the curtains of prestige television. Industry veterans are saying this moment will go down as a line in the sand before and after BAFTA 2026. Reports say internal tension within the BAFTA organization is boiling. Staff members are reportedly split between those demanding transparency and those trying to quietly move on. Some former employees have even leaked emails suggesting that leadership was warned about the potential backlash before the broadcast aired, but chose to stay the course for dramatic effect. That revelation has people fuming all over again. Meanwhile, the public has shifted from outrage to action. Viewers have started petitions calling for independent oversight in televised award ceremonies and real consequences when things go wrong. Hashtags like accountability in arts and change the stage are gaining traction across platforms, showing that audiences aren't here for performative apologies anymore. And through it all, Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo continue to embody quiet resilience. No messy drama, no media battles, just unwavering professionalism. Their silence is louder than any statement BAFTA could release. People see them as symbols of how grace under pressure can still spark a movement. Now the big question hangs in the air. Will BAFTA ever recover its credibility, or has this moment changed the face of entertainment forever? Because after this, the audience isn't just watching, they're judging who learns and who keeps pretending nothing happened.
So in the end, this isn't just about one slip-up or a complicated situation. It's about power and priorities. It's about an organization deciding what's safe to air, whose voices get heard, and whose pain is treated like background noise. The choices BAFTA made didn't just reveal a mistake, they exposed exactly whose discomfort they protect and whose they're willing to ignore. While Black artists were left on screen being insulted, the editors behind the scenes got to decide what pain was worth showing and what truth was too controversial to include. And that's the real story here. Both truths can exist at once. John Davidson does have Tourette's, which can absolutely explain certain behaviors, but that doesn't erase the hurt Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo felt in that moment. Their pain was real, valid, and impossible to deny. The problem isn't just individual intent, it's systemic bias. BAFTA had the full power to shape what millions of viewers saw, and they chose to silence a message about liberation while broadcasting a moment of humiliation. That says everything about where their priorities really are. So now I want to hear what you think. Do you side with those calling out the clear double standard? The fact that BAFTA aired a racist outburst but cut a powerful speech about freedom and equality? Or do you feel for John Davidson, believing this could truly have been an uncontrollable tick that got misunderstood? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know your take on this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment if you want more deep dives like this. The conversation isn't over, and your voice matters in keeping it alive.